Hello, everyone. I'm here today with our National Boatswain-Elect, Evan Nazareth. This is a really cool moment for me to pass the torch and talk about some experiences, your ideas, and what's to come. Evan, I'm really excited for you and your team, but let's jump back to the beginning. Can you share with us how you got into Sea Scouts?
Yeah, of course. So I first joined scouting in 2016. And when I first was looking at troops to join, and I was checking out my troop, I realized that I already knew everyone in my patrol, either from church, school, or other sports that I was doing. So that just was really cool and got me invested in my troop. In addition to that, as I was like working through my Eagle, I was participating in the Order of the Arrow, and that got me into checking out other high adventure programs in scouting, and that led me to joining Sea Scouts. I was already, I already really enjoyed water sports, so doing kayaking and mostly paddlecraft, and I really wanted to learn sailing, and that got me into Sea Scouting. And later on, I joined venturing so I could participate in other high adventure activities. So I've been a part of these programs for some time now, and I was able to earn my Eagle in Scouts BSA, my Quartermaster rank in Sea Scouts, my Summit rank in Venturing, and be recognized with the Vigil Honor and the Order of the Arrow.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on all of those awards, but especially on Quartermaster. Can you tell us more about your Quartermaster project?
Yeah. So I built a food donation collection bin and a monetary donation collection bin for my church. I built these during COVID, which was kind of unique. So that was a really challenging part of the process in terms of planning and safety, but I was able to overcome that. So overall, the project was really successful. And I always try to visit it whenever I come home back to Cary, so I can go see it.
Awesome.
Yeah, so going forward, I kind of wanted to hear a bit about your quartermaster as well. So Jewel, I know you're working on it. So what would be your dream quartermaster project?
My dream quartermaster project would be to create artificial coral reefs. I don't know, I just really love marine life and I want to add to it. Sadly, I don't live anywhere near a reef, so we'll see if it happens. But speaking about dreams, let's talk about why you want to serve as National Bosun. What pushed you to apply?
Yeah, so when I first joined Sea Scouts, I learned about the National Quarter Deck, and I always thought it was a really cool opportunity within Sea Scouting. So I participated in a lot of council and territory events over my time in Sea Scouting. I've been able to go to the Sea Scout Academy at Fort Monroe, and my local council Davy Jones Rendezvous event. And I really appreciated the community that I felt with these events. But what really got me into wanting to serve at the national level was working with the net, working to create the virtual National Sea Scout Academy 2 years ago in 2021. While we were working to create the event, I was elected to serve as the quartermaster and SEAL track bosun, and I really appreciated the amount of impact we were going to have on other Sea Scouts. And as we were putting together the program, I really liked how we were able to serve a lot of scouts within our group in terms of advancement, and overall with the whole academy, to be able to make a difference for Sea Scouts and showcase our unique skills. And I look forward to promoting our program over this term and showcasing our unique values.
That's really awesome. So, talked a little bit about it, but can you share with us some of your goals for term?
Yeah, so a couple of my goals for this term are to hold the National Virtual Sea Scout Academy in 2023. Because it's a great way to engage Sea Scouts across the country. In addition to that, yeah, so we're working on getting a team together for that event and picking a date. In addition to that, I look forward to strengthening our relationships with venturing in the Order of the Arrow as other older youth programs. I've already connected with the National VOA president and the national chief, and I look forward to working with them over the course of this term. In addition to that, finally, I want to promote our council quarter decks, showcase our unique Sea Scout events across the country, and as well as our relationships with the Coast Guard Auxiliary, um, so we can recognize them for their accomplishments and inspire other Sea Scouts across the nation to check out events like these, and get other people interested in our cool events like Safeties at Seas and other rendezvous that happen across the country every year.
Awesome. Can't wait for you to start working on those. But let's talk a little bit more about you and what was your favorite experience in Sea Scouts?
So I would say one of my favorite experiences in Sea Scouts was sailing on the Coast Guard Arc Eagle this summer. So we left out of New York, and it was a really incredible experience where we got to sail with the Coast Guard's first year cadets. Um, and I was elected to serve as the youth lead for this trip. And it was really nice to meet other Sea Scouts from across the country and be able to work with them and learn different skills. So we learned how to use a fire hose, trim the sails. We also got to do an up and over drill, which was really cool, which is where we climbed the rigging on the Eagle. And that was just all these experiences combined just to get a good taste of what the Coast Guard is really all about and work with other Sea Scouts, what made it a really big highlight.
The Bark Eagle really is a one of a kind experience. But what stands out to you about the Sea Scout program?
Yeah, I would say one thing that stands out to me about the Sea Scout program overall is that we help scouts learn, and we also have them challenge themselves in learning pretty much everything that it is with on the water experiences. We help have them learn about environmental impact, the history of sea scouting, maritime traditions, and all of this stuff combined gives them a really well-rounded experience of on the water experiences. So overall, I think the Sea Scouting program is really good for having our scouts grow as people, lead, and be able to just have fun on the water.
Completely agree.
Yeah. So, what advice would you have for a ship that is struggling with recruiting?
Yeah, so recruiting is a really difficult topic because the options range with location. But a good base is always fun events. Inviting youth from your chartered org, schools, or other organizations to come and sail for the day is a great way to welcome them to the program. This can be inviting friends out to sail just for a meeting or holding an open house and inviting lots of people through social media and flyers. But the biggest thing is to show them the fun they can have.
Yeah, I completely agree. In addition to that, what has been like your favorite experience as national bosun and some successes over the course of your term?
Yeah, so my favorite experiences as National Bosun has just been meeting people. I love to meet scouts from around the country and hear about their stories, hear about their long sails, their seals, just everything they've done in the program. It's inspiring to get to talk to them. Some successes from term, I think just navigating the bankruptcy and growing the program along the way was a great success. But from my team and we beckoned in a lot of new. We introduced three new positions, being the bosun's mate of program, communications, and territory support. Program and territory were kind of there before, just in different titles, but we kind of changed them around and gave them a new purpose. Matthew did an amazing job pushing our social media engagement and setting the course for more Sea Scout TikToks and podcasts. Tyler put together the Ships in Action initiative, which was really great to see all the ships from across the country participating in. Marina, Erica, and the Territory Bosuns have had a lot of success visiting units, supporting events, and initiatives on their own. And I've had quite fun with my paperwork and helping to restructure the NQD to be more council focused.
Yeah, really great job over the course of this year.
Thank you.
Outside of your 1 hour a week of scouting, what do you do? What are you studying in college? What do you do in high school? What are your hobbies?
Yeah, so in college, I studied computer science, and here I'm in our High Five lab, which basically stands for High Fidelity Virtual Reality Lab. And we do a lot of fun projects there, but we mostly work with like creating training experiences and different things like that in virtual reality. I'm also on our student government. We call it Student Association. And I'm currently in our programming pod, which isn't far from what I do in scouting. Outside of that, I enjoy playing golf for fun. I'm not a professional. I like watching Formula One and just hanging out with my friends to relax. So I have to ask you, outside of your 1 hour a week of scouting, Evan, what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a mechanical engineering major at UNC Charlotte. And I really love it there. In high school, I was a part of cross country, track, and I did sailing for sports. In addition to that, I really love kayaking, which would be hard to guess because I'm a Sea Scout. You would never guess. But yeah, for example, in 2020, when there weren't a lot of events happening, I was wondering what I could do. So I decided I would do a lot of kayaking, and I probably kayaked 20 to 30 days between June and July, just to get outside and get going. Anyway, on to the next topic. Leadership is a pretty important aspect of our program overall. And there's several scout trainings out there. NYLT is one that stood out to me. I served as an NYLT SPL for our council's NYLT course, and I know you served on staff for NYLT as well. How was that experience for you?
NYLT is where I credit my start in scouting. I wasn't really invested till I participated and was asked back to staff. The community of the program and what I learned along the way was honestly life-changing. Many of my closest friends today I met at NYLT, and I always make sure I use the neutral position when I'm giving a presentation or something along those lines.
Yeah, for sure. NYLT teaches you a lot of really cool skills, and I really enjoyed being an SPL for that course as well. So do you have one memory that sticks out to you?
Yes, on my SPL course, we love to blast music and have a good dance party. And so on this day, it was like day 5, we were all utterly exhausted, and hilariously sleep deprived, but we needed a good dance sesh. And so I was like, what song are we doing? And someone yelled out, Love Story by Taylor Swift. And so we put it on and we were blasting the music. And I just watched as the entire course. Everyone was like on their feet, jumping, screaming along. And it's just like one of those moments where you step back and you're like, wow, look at this team that just formed. Look at what like the youth have done to create this team. It was just very surreal. But on the topic of leadership camps, out of every camp training experience that you've participated in, which one stood out the most?
Yeah, I would say one that really stood out to me was NAIL. So NAIL stands for National Advanced Youth Leadership Experience. And it combines a lot of outdoor experiences with your NYLT leadership skills, which I really loved. So I took my course at the summit in 2020. I was looking at what I could do because all my trips were basically canceled in 2020. And I saw that this course was still happening. And I wanted to go and check it out. So NAIL was really fun, as I said, because it built upon NYLT skills, but it put them into action, which I thought was really valuable. But what really stood out to me about NAIL was the importance of self-reflection. We did a lot of journaling every single day, and took a lot of time and set it apart for that. And that's something that I think really helped me figure out who I wanted to be as a leader and a person. And something that I put into a lot of my leadership is looking back on what I've done before and how I could improve. And it's something that I really appreciate about NAIL, and that's been instilled in me through it. Overall, I think my NAIL crew and also my NAIL group overall was just a really great and impactful group of leaders. And I've been able to see them in other areas of scouting, which has been really cool because they're all active as well. I actually saw one of my NAIL crew this past weekend who I hadn't seen in like 3 years at a local venturing event in a different council. So that was just a really neat thing to do and be able to see these people after the event.
That's really awesome. I didn't know that journaling was a big part of NAIL, but that's really cool for the self-reflection aspect as you're learning all of those leadership values. But to jump back to the beginning, you mentioned you're an Eagle Scout. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah,
What was,
so
oh,
sorry.
whoops.
Okay,
Um,
we'll just restart that.
so let's jump back to the beginning. You mentioned you're an Eagle Scout. So let's talk about that. What was your favorite memory from the time you spent working on your Eagle?
Yeah, so I would definitely say like growing up with my patrol, because I was always really tight with all of them, and I still have a lot of those friendships till this day, and we still text and talk all the time. I actually went to my troops meeting last night, and it was just a really cool experience, because I've come into my troop meetings a lot when I can, but I saw one of our scouts that I w worked with a lot when I was SPO when he just joined the troop and he was like a fifth grader, and seeing him at the last meeting serve as SPL now, and seeing him grow over the course of his term and his leadership abilities and just overall was a really cool thing. And I'm really proud of him for that. And that's something that one of my favorite memories within scouting and something that I was working on towards my Eagle, and just helping other scouts with their Eagle projects as they progress through the program is something that's really stood out to me, is being able to continue that service to other people and be able to contribute to that.
That's really great. Well, what about merit badges? Did you have a favorite merit badge?
Yeah, so I would say one of my favorite merit badges was water sports, which is basically water skiing. So I did that while I was on a Sea Scout trip. I really like merit badges because they really gave me a good idea to check out different things that I would never usually try, such as welding, and automotive maintenance, just things I didn't think I'd be too experienced in. But water sports was a really cool one that I was able to work on. While we were there, it was kind of challenging at first, but once I got the hang of it, I was doing pretty good, and I was able to stay on the skis for about 2.5 minutes straight each round. So that was pretty fun, and I look forward to doing that again with my ship sometime soon.
You're definitely probably a better water skier than I am, but why don't you give us some insight into your Eagle project?
Yeah, so when I was looking to start my Eagle project, I took a lot of time trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And that's because I wanted to make sure it was something that made a difference, was lasting, was something I was passionate about, and just would be able to help people continuously. So what I did for mine was I built an arbor, at our ship's chartered organization. So an arbor, is basically two arches with benches in between, and it's basically a large wooden structure. So we had a newly built meditation trail for the church. And I built it in that area because you wouldn't typically be able to see the trail because it was kind of in a hard to see spot. But ever since I built the arbor, there's a lot of people who were able to take note of that. Even while we were building the project, and even afterwards, every single time people were passing through while we were working on it, they said, "Wow, this is really helpful," because I didn't know this trail existed and I've lived here for a while. So just different things like that really made me feel good about it. And I put a lot of time into it, so I was really proud of it. On all my projects, I kind of put quotes related to the effort I put into it. So for that one, I put always render more and better service than what is expected of you, no matter what your task may be. And that's something I lived out in that project and I try to live out overall.
It's awesome to see the impact that your project gives. I know going back and just seeing everyone enjoying it probably was a really great feeling. But along
Yeah,
that same train, along that same train, what were some of your favorite parts of Quartermaster? We already talked about projects, but talk us through some of the other aspects.
yeah. So one thing I really appreciated about Quartermaster that I noticed at first was the fact that you were able to learn throughout the other ranks. And for the final one, you have to be able to teach and lead all those skills. At first glance, that can be seem a bit daunting. But overall, it's something that really improves your leadership ability, and your communication skills, and being able to fully have a well-rounded understanding of those skills. And that's something that really stuck out to me about the rank. In addition to that, I really like the cruise for that reason because it was a really holistic combination of everything I'd done. So I'm from a sailing ship, and I was able to do a sailing cruise. And just as I was about to start planning my cruise, COVID hit. So that kind of delayed it a bit. But we still held it during 2020, around September. So I was really proud of that, that I was able to put that cruise together, and work through all that stuff during a really challenging time. So yeah, that's something that really stood out to me about Quartermaster overall.
Awesome. Well, you've had many opportunities in many different settings to lead a group. So share with us what your favorite experience as a leader has been.
So I would say one of my favorite experiences is like that feeling of like inspiring other people and knowing that you're making a difference. So kind of as touched on earlier, for all of my projects, my Eagle, my Quartermaster, and my Summit, I work to put them in places that I know that they would be used for the long term and would be seen and be used. So for example, like I was at school 2 days ago studying for one of my last finals before I was about to move out. And then I had someone come up to me who was a senior engineering student who I wasn't really familiar with. And he came up to me and said, "Hi." And I'm like, "How are you doing?" And he said, "By any chance, are you a scout?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." And I was wondering what it was about. And then he said, "Yeah, because I saw your name at a project at our church." And I was like, "Oh." Which one? Because I had two projects actually, my quartermaster and my summit at that church. So I was wondering which one it was. And he was pulling up his phone and scrolling through the pictures. And then he showed it to me, and it was my quartermaster project. And that really made my day because I knew that I built that a long time ago, and to see that people were have still been appreciating it over the years, and seeing that that project is still in effect, just really makes the difference. Like anytime I have scouts come up to me, at events, or in general saying, thank you for making an impact on me as a leader, or an adult comes up and says, thank you so much for stepping in to like serve in this role, or hey, like I really appreciate that you gave me this patch, I still wear it. Just the little things like that really make a difference to me and show that I'm making an impact. For me, I would say it just always reminds me to put forward my best effort and to be positive and to invest in things, even if that takes time and effort, because it really does make all the difference and it does change lives. And that's one thing that always stood out to me as a leader.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a bit more about the older youth programs and high adventure. What has been your favorite scouting high adventure experience?
So I would say one of my favorite scouting high adventure experiences was going to Florida Sea Base in 2021. I'd previously been to St. Croix for Sea Base in 2019, which was the first year of that. But when we went to Florida, it was really cool because that was the first time I got to go on a diving Sea Base trip. So when we went there, we were originally signed up for a liveaboard, but COVID kind of put a threat in that. So we were able to so Seabase offered to change our trip so we could kind of pilot a newer program that they were trying to do. So we were able to do coral outplanting, which is basically planting coral underwater, which is a really cool experience. So we got to dive and learn with the Coral Reef Foundation, in addition to like mixing epoxy underwater, which they did, and then we were able to like apply it and stick it and plant this new coral that they like made, which was a really cool experience. In addition to that, they also were willing to pay for our advanced open water diver certification because they canceled our trip, so they were willing to throw that on top and pay the additional fee. And I really loved that. We were able to have a really unique experience that not a lot of people have. And I hope to do a liveaboard again soon, if I ever go back. So yeah, in addition to that, I know we are both involved in the Order of the Arrow. That's actually where we first met was at this past NOAC, which stands for the National Order of the Arrow Conference. So what has been some of the highlights in your membership journey?
Yeah, well, I think NOAC has to take the cake just because it was my first national event and I got to meet so many different Sea Scouts. And obviously, as I talked about earlier, that's my favorite part of the job. So it was just so much fun. But I think another highlight has definitely been watching the Sea Scout membership grow in my lodge. When I first joined my lodge, there were maybe a couple people, a handful of people that would actually wear their blue uniforms to lodge events. And now I can go back and it's a sea of blue. Our lodge chief is a Sea Scout. A couple of our vice chiefs are Sea Scouts, and many in the leadership team in general are. And so it's just great to watch Sea Scouts kind of take over the OA.
Yeah, I agree. NOAC was like such a great experience, and the OA offers a lot of different opportunities. For me, the OA was like a great entry point for the other older youth programs. And was a great way for me to develop in my leadership while serving other scouts. Because I share many of my experiences with others within the OA, and I think that makes us like a lot closer whenever we meet at different events.
I completely agree, and I'm sure many scouters would as well. Now let's jump forward and talk a bit about the near future. Do you have any plans for the summer?
Yeah, I have a couple different trips planned. Originally, I was thinking I would take it easy, but that didn't happen. Um, so I'm gonna do study abroad in Greece in 3 days now, which is really exciting.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm really excited for that. I'm gonna be there for about 2 weeks. And then after that, I'm probably gonna do staff my local summer camp over the summer sometime, and then I'm gonna go to Puerto Rico with my family, which will be pretty cool and fun. And then in addition to that, a friend invited me to go to him with the Kandersteg, which is known as the Permanent Mini World Jamboree. Um, and it's a really cool place in Switzerland. And I'm gonna go there for the 100-year anniversary jamboree. I'm probably gonna go up there, stay with him for a few days beforehand, and then go to the jamboree. So I'm gonna be there for a good amount of time, 2, 3 weeks, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh, that's so cool. You're just having a world traveling summer, I guess.
Yeah, and I've never done international travel before, so I'm really excited for the summer.
Oh, what a way to
So
get
yeah,
into it.
yeah, for sure. How about you?
This summer I will be taking it easy. Most of the time I'll just be home kind of relaxing. But I will be going to sea base for the first time with my troop, so I'm super excited about that. And I'm also going to the National Jamboree.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. Is there anything you'd like to share about like the older youth program base camp?
Yes, thank you. I will be working the older youth base camp at the Jamboree. And it's open to anyone 14 plus. You don't have to be a Venture Sea Scout Explorer. You can be a Scouts BSA member as well. And we'll be having some great activities. We'll have a venturing birthday party, a beach bash, a bunch of fun night activities, and then you can go to the Jamboree and experience everything else during the day.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be really fun. I'm personally trying to find my way there. We'll see if I end up there. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, as you are concluding your term soon, is there anything you'd like to say to the Sea Scouts out there?
Yes, it's been an amazing ride this year, and thank you to every scout I have met. You have all been an inspiration to me in everything I do in this position, and I hope that I've been able to give at least a little bit of inspiration back. Well, Evan, thank you for joining me today and giving us a glimpse into who you are and what's to come this term. I'm excited for you and for what you and your team will accomplish. Before the clock strikes 12 on June 1st and your term begins, do you have anything that you would like to say?
Yeah, overall, I'm like really excited and honored to be able to serve in this position as the national bosun for 2023 to 2024. Thank you to all the adults, youth and adults, who have worked with me over the years within my ship 244, my troop 216, and my crew 316, and guided me to develop my leadership skills within scouting. This program has really changed my life, and I look forward to strengthening the Sea Scout program and scouting overall over the course of this year. Congratulations again to Jewell on a great year for you and your team, and I look forward to seeing you at other events and seeing where you go in the future.
Well, thank you again, Evan, for joining us. And thank you to everyone listening in. Fair winds and following seas to all.